Hey everyone, my name is Miriam and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about Egypt and how it is today because of the Arab Spring. So first I'm going to give you guys some background knowledge on the Arab Spring in general, then specifically Egypt's Arab Spring, and then today who the rulers are today and how Egypt as a country feels towards the rulers. So the Arab Spring was a revolutionary wave of demonstrations and protests across the Middle East. Some of these protests were violent, some of them were non-violent. It just depends on which country you're speaking about and throughout what time period. Major protests broke out in Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Yemen, Bahrain, Syria, Algeria, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Morocco, and Sudan. Tunisia was the one that actually began the Arab Spring on December 18th, 2010, and Egypt later followed, and then many other Arab countries followed after that. Some minor protests broke out in Amman, Saudi Arabia, Palestine, and Djibouti, but they weren't as big as the ones listed above. Rulers that were forced out of power through the Arab Spring were in Tunisia, Egypt twice, Libya, and then Yemen. Okay, so this is a picture I found on Egypt during the Arab Spring. You could see that men, women, children, everyone came out and supported that Mubarak stepped down from power. This was a very patriotic time for Egypt. You could see Egyptian flags are everywhere. People had a lot of hope. People wanted to see a new chapter unfold for Egypt. This is Tahrir Square, where most of the revolution took place. Uh, there was some other places that the revolution took place, but this was where the main protest was. You could see in the middle that people are camping out here at Tahrir, and there's thousands upon thousands of people on the outside. Okay, so causes for the Arab Spring in Egypt and why the revolution began there was police brutality. Police brutality was actually what started the Arab Spring with a young boy named Khaled Said, but I will talk about that later. Electoral fraud was a big one, lack of elections and freedom of speech and corruption within the government, political censorship and political dictatorship, high rates of unemployment, rises in food prices and price inflation, low wages for those who you could say liked to work blue-collar jobs. This is President Mubarak that was forced out of power in 2011. He's the one that was forced out of power, the first revolution that took place in Egypt. Here he's shaking hands with President Obama. Methods of revolution and resistance were civil disobedience, civil resistance, demonstrations, online activism, riots, and strike actions. Online activism was a huge thing that partook in Egypt during this time. Actually, the whole revolution began through a Facebook group for a young boy named Khaled Sayed, and he was a student like us who actually died of police brutality. He was an innocent boy, so there was a Facebook group that was organized for him, and they decided to revolt in his name because the government and no one really did anything about it for him. Results of the revolution in Egypt were that on February 11th of 2011, Vice President Omar Suleiman announced that Mubarak would resign as president. And later in 2012, Mubarak was sentenced to a life of imprisonment. He is now actually released from jail, but he was supposed to be there until he died. Also suspension of the constitution and dissolution of the parliament of Mubarak's regime. Democratic elections were then held in 2012, and in June of 2012, Mohamed Morsi, a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, won presidency over Egypt. Protests then reoccurred in 2013 against Morsi's drafted constitution. It was Islamist based, and people did not like that, so they revolted again against him. They went back to Tahrir and revolted. In June 2013, they kicked Morsi out of power, and all his people, all his regime came out of power, and the military took over power of Egypt until the next presidential elections were to be held. So casualties during the revolution. During the revolution, there was 846 deaths and over 6,000 injuries, and post-revolution, 300 people died, and arrests were at 12,000. Many youth were arrested during the revolution. A lot of reporters were arrested during the revolution. Many people were just unrightly and unjustly put in jail. Today, Egypt today, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he is the former general of the military. He's the one that took power after Morsi was forced out of power, and then during the elections, Egypt voted him into presidency. Analysis claim that Egypt has returned to the same police state which it aimed to remove with Mubarak's regime. I was recently at a lecture actually here at the University of Illinois, and a professor named Dr. Bayat actually was speaking in this lecture, and he said that he doesn't see that Egypt will move past this regime, the same regime that Mubarak had. It will just be a repeat of Mubarak-based ideas. And Sisi is now elected president. There's no signs of competitors for the next election. People believe that if elections are held in the next 3 years, that no one will be able to compete against Sisi. He will just be reelected. This is President Sisi. He's wearing his general suit. Supporters of Sisi and the military rule over Egypt believe that Sisi saved Egypt from the Muslim Brotherhood. That he saved them from the same Iran rule that could have taken place in Egypt. And many Coptic Christians also support Sisi. Coptic Christians are a minority in Egypt, but they're one of the large minorities in when we talk about religion. The first is Sunni Muslims, and then there's Coptic Christians. I believe there is less Coptic Christians today than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I believe the percentage was 10% of Egypt were Coptic Christians. Coptic Christians during Morsi's regime, they were attacked a lot. Their churches were attacked just because there was a lot of chaos in Egypt during this time. People wanted Christians to leave, especially because they had now an Islamic ruler. So there was just a lot of chaos, and Coptic Christians saw Sisi as a way out of this chaos because he was a military ruler, not a religious ruler. Also, many people support Sisi because he gives them hope for the future. He always talks about a new bright future for Egypt. People are excited for a new start for Egypt. They have been oppressed for the last 60 years, and they're excited to see a new start for their country. This is a picture, also I found on the internet, of this girl getting the Egyptian flag painted on her face. You can see that everyone is very prideful. During the second elections, actually, there was a song that came out called Bushrat Khair, and it's about how Egypt is in chaos, but every other country in the world has chaos of some sort. So that you should just look past this and become patriotic of your country. I'm actually going to play the song for you guys, and it's a pretty catchy song. So here it is. So that's the song Bushrat Khair. This song is actually still popular today in Egypt, also because it's just catchy, but it gives people hope for the future as well. So critics of the current president and the current regime of the military ruling over Egypt. So less than 50% of the Egyptian population that was able to vote in Egypt did not vote during the second elections. So during the elections where Sisi was elected into presidency, less than 50% voted. So a lot of people say this is only 50% of the opinion of all of Egypt. So when you think about it, maybe 50% does agree with it, does agree with the regime right now, but 50% doesn't. But even if it's the whole 50%, he did not get 100% like voting approval. So it's kind of like a messy situation because many people didn't vote. Also, a lot of people fear the same Mubarak style rule. They think that it's just going to be a repeat of the Mubarak regime where it's going to be a dictatorship. There's never going to be fair elections again. Just the same regime over again, just a repeat basically of the history of Egypt. And also, people fear that he will not meet the expectations of the people that do approve of him today. So you could see that maybe today, like let's say theoretically 20% of Egypt supports Sisi. So people are saying that they'll see him, they'll realize that he's not a great president, and his approval rate will go down to like 10%. So that's what a lot of people think as well. So that's my presentation, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a good day.